أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي زدني علما وارزقني فهما ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي آمين. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Ida Murni Jamari from YMS EduTech Learning Hub. Inshallah, we help students to improve in math and science by 2 grades in less than 3 months. So Alhamdulillah, today is our first chemistry Facebook live lesson, whereby this will stretch all the way till end of November, meaning to say we will have 4 chemistry lessons, and this live streaming here is suitable for secondary 3 students in 2018, as well as the GCE and as well as GCE O-level students of 2018. So what am I going to cover within these 4 lessons will be the very basic of chemistry that you must know before you move on to 2018, especially the O-level and the N-level students. You need to clear this first, okay? So today, the first lesson, I'll be covering on naming of ionic compounds. On the second lesson, inshallah, I will be sharing with you how to write chemical formula. Third lesson is how to write a balanced chemical equation, and on the fourth lesson, I'll be sharing with you how to write balanced ionic equations. So, as you can see, it is very basic, but this is what most students do not get themselves cleared first before they move on to new topics. Okay, you must get this. You really need to clear this first before you go on to the next topic, because these 4 lessons that I'm going to cover will be important for you when it comes to acid, bases and salts, when it comes to metals, when it comes to bonding, alright, and mole concept. So it's very important for you to ensure that you get these 4 lessons correct. Okay, you must make sure that you get this foundation concretely built first. Okay, alright, so without further ado, today I'm going to cover on how to write or how to name ionic compounds. Yes, I know that this is my second video this year that I'm sharing on writing of ionic compounds, naming of ionic compounds. Okay, so I hope you can clear this, alright, as soon as possible. Okay, so can you all see? Okay, so I'm going to present my lesson in a mind map form, because by using mind map you can see what are the important things that you need to cover within that one concept. Okay, so naming of ionic compounds. Alright. Okay, I like to categorize this naming of ionic compounds into 3 categories. So I call this type 1, and then we have type 2. Can you see the type 2? Okay, I think it's a bit too high, so I shall not do it here. My type 2 will be here. Okay, type 2. And this will be type 3. Alright, so then we have 3 types in naming ionic compounds. So in type 1, this is between group 1, group 2, group 3 metals with the non-metal elements. Okay, so we're combining metal plus non-metal, But for the non-metal, this is something special. We are going to end the name of the non-metal with "ite." Alright? You need to write this down. You need to remember this, because it is not just students who are sitting for N-level who have problems with this. Even pure chemistry students, some of the students also have problem with this, in a sense that they forget to change the non-metal element to end with "ite." Alright, so that's why you need to include this in your notes. Okay, so example, let's say you have magnesium and chlorine. Okay, let's say you have magnesium and chlorine. So how are you going to name this compound? So this compound, you need to identify which of the element is a metal, because metal needs to come first, followed by the non-metal. Okay, so magnesium and chlorine, which one is the metal? Magnesium is the metal and chlorine is the non-metal. Okay, recap, how do I know that magnesium belongs to the metal group? Is because magnesium belongs to group 2. Okay, so we have group 1, 2, 3 of the periodic table being metals. Alright, and we have group, okay, I'm not going to touch on group 4 because group 4 is special. I'm going to touch from group 5 to group 7. Group 5 to group 7 are non-metals. Okay, and then you may recall that your teacher has taught you group 0 or group 8 also being non-metals. Yes, group 0 or group 8 are also non-metals, but they are not involved in forming compounds because group 0 elements are stable. Those are the noble gases. Alright? Okay, so we have magnesium and chlorine. When we combine them, how do we call magnesium and chlorine? They are called magnesium chloride. Magnesium chloride. Okay, you must change the name chlorine to chloride, magnesium chloride. Do you understand? Alright, so that is type 1. Between metals of group 1 to 3 as well as non-metals group 5 to 7. You name the metal first, followed by the non-metal, and you end the name of the non-metal with "ite." Okay, let's do one more. Let's have lithium and oxygen. Lithium and oxygen. So we need to identify which one is metal, which one is non-metal. So lithium is the metal and oxygen is the non-metal. Because lithium belongs to group 1, so it is a metal, and oxygen belongs to group 6, so it is non-metal. And so, when we combine them, we will have lithium, and this is oxygen, you must end it with "ite," so that will be lithium oxide. Wait, let me change this color so you can see. Lithium oxide must end with "ite." Okay, easy? Alright. So next, let's move on to type 2. Okay, let me shift the camera a bit. Okay, type 2. Type 2 involves metal as well, but this time round, it is a special metal. Okay, it involves transition metal and non-metal. And this non-metal must also end with IDE. IDE. Okay, so recap. What are transition metals? Transition metals are the middle block metals. The middle block metals, okay? So, what is so special about transition metals is that transition metals have multiple oxidation states. So, example, copper. We can have copper 1, we can also have copper 2. Okay, so transition metals, they have multiple oxidation states. Okay, so in writing or in naming ionic compounds involving transition metals, you need to include the Roman numeral or the oxidation state of the transition metals. So if let's say I have copper 1 and let's say sulfur. Alright, so first we need to identify which one of this is the metal or the transition metal. So copper 1 is the transition metal and sulfur is the non-metal. So this is the transition metal and this is the non-metal. So the transition metal must come first, followed by the non-metal, and the non-metal must be accompanied with IDE at the back of its name. Alright, so we will have copper 1 sulfide. Copper 1 sulfide. Okay? Let's go for another example. Let's have copper 2 and sulfur. So first, identify which one is the transition metal. That is copper 2. And sulfur is the non-metal. So how do we name copper 2 and sulfur? So we call it copper 2 sulfide. Okay? Alright, so that's quite straightforward. So as you can see, type 1 and type 2 are quite similar because these two types involve metal and non-metal. Type 2, transition metals and non-metals, and the non-metals must end with the word IDE. Alright? Okay, so now let's move on to type 3. Type 3 involves positive ions and negative ions. Okay, so it involves positive and negative. Okay, so for type 3, I'm going to touch on polyatomic ions. Polyatomic ions. Polyatomic ions. Okay, so what are the 5 polyatomic ions that you must know? Okay, so there are 5 of them, and they are, we have ammonium being the positive polyatomic ion. Then we have hydroxide. Okay, we have nitrate. Alright, sulfate, carbonate. Okay, so all these are, let me adjust adjust my camera a little. Okay. Alright. Okay, so we have ammonium, hydroxide, nitrate, sulfate, and carbonate. So these four are negative polyatomic ions. So in naming compounds involving polyatomic ions, we need to write the positive polyatomic ion first, followed by the negative polyatomic ion. Okay, let's do an example here. Let's say I have ammonium and hydroxide. So if let's say I have ammonium and hydroxide, so you need to ask yourself which one is the positive and which one is the negative. So ammonium is the positive, so ammonium has to come first. So we have ammonium, okay, and hydroxide being negative, so that will be ammonium hydroxide. Alright? Now, what if I want to involve metals in type 3? Okay, let's say I have magnesium and sulfate. So the magnesium must come first because magnesium is metal, so metal must come first, and sulfate is the negative polyatomic ion, so it will come second. So we will have magnesium, sulfate. Okay? So you can either have the positive polyatomic ion first, followed by the negative polyatomic ion, or you can have a metal first, followed by the negative polyatomic ion. And this can also involve transition metals. Alright? So for example, let's say we have iron 2 and nitrate. So the name will be iron 2 nitrate. Iron 2 nitrate. Right? So you have the transition metal with the oxidation number followed by the negative polyatomic ion. Okay? So there you have it. We have the three ways to name ionic compounds. So we have type 1 involving metal and non-metal ending with the "ite." Type 2 involves transition metal. Type 2 involves the transition metal and the non-metal ending with "ite." And type 3 involving polyatomic ions, whereby we have the positive polyatomic ion first, followed by the negative polyatomic ions. Alright? Okay, so I hope you find this live streaming useful in helping you to recap on naming of ionic compounds. Alright? So inshallah, I will see you next week. But as homework, what you need to do is to take out your periodic table and then test yourself, type 1, type 2, and type 3. Alright, for type 3 involving polyatomic ions, you need to remember these 5 polyatomic ions: ammonium, hydroxide, nitrate, sulfate, and carbonate. Okay? So inshallah, I'll see you next week, whereby I'll be covering on how to write chemical formula of ionic compounds. Okay? So tomorrow I will be sharing with you, same time, 5:30 p.m. I'll be sharing with you one concept of additional math. Alright, so for those students who will be taking additional math next year, so do remember to tune in at 5:30 p.m. And for those of you who wish to register for a free trial lesson with us at YMS EduTech Learning Hub, we have 2 branches, one at Icon at Changi and the other is in Punggol. Some of our Punggol slots are fully booked. Our Tuesday, Thursdays and Sunday classes are fully booked. So do hurry if you want to register for a free trial lesson. Our lessons will start in December, inshallah. Alright, so I'll see you tomorrow for additional math, and for chemistry, I'll see you next week. So please do your homework. Once again, I'm Ida Murni Jamari from YMS EduTech Learning Hub. Hurry to success. Bye.